Did you know that you wanted to go more on the business side of things as opposed to artist side,
Yes.
or
Yes.
did you know what you wanted to do at that time?
Yes. Yes. I knew exactly where my strengths were. My strengths were on the business side. They weren't, um, necessarily artist A&R or anything like that. It wasn't, it wasn't record label kind of stuff. It was, I wanted to be, I felt through and through I was a businessman, and how, how did I sort of showcase that skill set? That was being a promoter and producing shows and promoting shows and understanding exactly the key economics that go into all of these different sort of events, and each sort of area of each event. It was important for me to sort of learn as much as I possibly could, and I was the beneficiary of, like, amazing tutelage, right? Like, I worked with, as I said earlier, the most incredible people, the pioneers of this industry, and they taught me a lot. They each had different strengths. They each taught me different things, and I was the young kid in the office who, as I did on the tours after I moved to the concert promoter office, I sort of said to myself, listen, I'm just going to continue to work my ass off and learn as much as I possibly can, and be the guy who's there first and leaves last. And if any of these bosses turned around and need some work done, I'm standing there saying, I'm ready. So
Everybody likes that.
that was how I did it.
So you're going to college, you got the tour, you kind of do that you ebb and flow of that, college tour, right? How many times you do that?
So I only did Licks and Bigger Bang, and then after Bigger Bang, I moved. That was 2007. I loved the road as much as it was incredible life. I wanted to feel a bit like I had a normal life, like living out of a suitcase for 18 months. And it sounds incredible. It was incredible. Tour buses to hotels to planes, to tour buses to hotels to planes. It's amazing. But I also, you think about the other things in life. You think about having your core group of friends. You think about getting married. You think about having a family. You start to think about that stuff and settling in. And I was lucky because I felt like I was young enough to make, I made that decision when I was young enough that I could leave the road side of the business and go to the sort of office side of the business and learn it from that perspective. So I moved into an office in Toronto. It was the CPI head office in Toronto. And I moved in there 2007 and worked for that company through 2010 when the business, we moved everything down to New York City. And so that was a sort of a change in the structure of the business. The business ultimately sold to Live Nation, and what came out of that was a little boutique producer promoter company called S2BN Entertainment, and that's where I worked from in New York from 2011 to right through to 2016.
Well, let's get into that. How did you how did you start? What does that look like for people that don't know? How do you start you start your own little company, or so to speak, in Toronto?
No, this
And
was
you moved it to
after.
New York.
I was working for the producers and the promoters of the Stones throughout the whole time. This one guy, and I worked for through that entire sort of those years. I didn't start Round Room until 2016, until I left that business and then started Round Room. Yeah,
And how do you do that? How does
started
it
your own
work?
company.
Yeah, for your what you had to do specifically.
It's a good question. So when it was 2014, and the beautiful thing, the cool thing about these like events is they each operate like its own individual business, right? So you have, I don't know, a show that goes on Broadway, okay, and you need to go and get it financed, or you need to acquire the rights, right? Then you need to go and get the show financed. And then you need to sort of create the brand and the marketing and the key art. And then you need to create the product, right? Whatever the product is. And then it runs its course and it has dips and dives and it does well and it has, shortcomings. And then ultimately you close the show and you settle the show and you have a final P&L. It says it made this much or it lost this much or whatever it was. And it had this start and end. And that look and building shows made me sort of feel like, hey, listen, I could apply that to anything.